I'm going to open this meeting of the Planning Commission. Could I have a roll call, please?
Mr. Ash, Ms. Bindum, Mr. Fell,
Here.
Mr. Fitch,
Here.
Mr. Hopkins, Mr. Otto,
Here.
Ms. Stake, Ms. Upabant,
We do not have a quorum. I think what we'll do here is speed through the agenda and open the hearing, and then we'll talk about, to continue it to our nearest convenience, since you've already had to, wait. Are there any changes to the agenda?
No changes.
We will put off the minutes since we cannot vote. Are there any communications?
No communications.
No continued public hearings. No old business. No new public hearings. We do have a new business case that I will open now. Plan case 2233 S14, Countryside Second Subdivision, preliminary and final plats. We are allowed to discuss it without a quorum or to ask questions. We cannot vote. And
I will recuse myself from this case.
Mr. Fell will recuse himself for this case for conflict of interest.
I actually have to leave. Can I stay here?
No, actually, yes. Sure.
Okay. So this is a revision of a preliminary plat that was approved last summer. Countryside Second Subdivision. It's a request by Marcus Harris. It was approved by City Council, preliminary and final plat. Approved by City Council last year, but was never recorded due to some difficulties with providing drainage with that proposed lot layout and with the expenses of the public street. They have redrawn all the lot lines, and now they've overcome those hurdles. There's no longer a public street, and now there are 6 lots with an additional outlot that contains a drainage basin. So the drainage concerns have been addressed, the cost has been reduced, and they are ready to proceed with this development. The site was originally part of Countryside's second subdivision, which you can see the layout here. It was a 8-lot subdivision. There was a large interior lot and some much smaller lots along the frontages. But those lots are now non-conforming size in the county and really not marketable. So the applicants purchased the property and ready to redevelop. The Plan Commission tonight, if we have another vote, the Plan Commission is requested to review the proposed preliminary and final plat and make a recommendation to City Council for approval or denial. Let's see, taking a look at the existing conditions, most of the site is used for agriculture. It's the west east 130 feet or so of width are forested. There is 1 lot that's developed with a single family home. The plan is to keep that home and rehabilitate it and sell it as part of one of the new lots. On the comprehensive plan, it shows this area as rural residential, which is what the proposed plat would be. So taking a look at the preliminary plat, the preliminary plat It contains all the elements required by the subdivision and land development code, including topography, elevation, monuments, surrounding developments, streets, utilities, and zoning. It divides the the parcel into 6 lots, plus the 0.32 acre outlot. The lot sizes range from 1.05 to 1.56 acres, which meets the county zoning requirements. What's different about this lot, let me bring up another exhibit, is the access. This plat has a new access configuration. There are 4 lots that front on the public streets, lot 11, 14, 15, and 16. There's 2 lots that are flag lots. They have access through a 20-foot wide flag portion. Lot 13 has a flag that touches Anthony Drive. Lot 12 has a flag that touches Cottonwood Road. And while we're on this exhibit, we could just look at the access control. The pink areas are access easements, which provide access if the property owners so choose to have shared driveways. The yellow highlighted areas are where access is allowed. So there's no access allowed near the corner or the intersection, and there's no access allowed on the western portion of lot 14 because this is near a top of a hill just east of here. So to have access, a drive sticking out at the bottom of the hill would not be advisable. And the final plat. Final plat also contains all the required elements and is consistent with the proposed preliminary plat. Shows lot dimensions, right of way to be dedicated. Contains all the surveyors and drainage statements that are required. We discussed access. Drainage, again, would be provided on this outlot. Most of the lot drains, or most of the plat drains towards there. And basically with the restricted flow from that basin, the total flow out of the subdivision will be below or at what is required for the lot to be developed. And the city engineer has reviewed those plans, and we have the assistant city engineer, Brad Bennett, here tonight if you have any questions about that. For utilities, the site is not within the service area of the sanitary district or the public water, but the lots are large enough to accommodate wells for water and septic tanks. And the plat reserves easements necessary for future public utilities. No waivers are requested, but there is a standard sidewalk deferral request. There's no adjacent sidewalks, but when the public sidewalks become adjacent, the city engineer will request that they install sidewalks, which is required by this deferral. And, well, I'm not going to read you your options tonight because we cannot make any recommendations. But I would be happy to take any questions, and the applicant is here as well.
Any questions for Mr. Engstrom? Thank you. Mr. Otto.
Go back and explain the access slide to me. I got lost
Oh.
there. And what does it mean that they've taken out a public road, but they have, what, an easement, or do they have an agreement to build a private road?
Well, these pink areas are the access easements. So there's a strip. It's kind of, let me zoom in a little here. Okay. It's kind of hard to tell with the dashed and dotted lines. The solid lines are the lot lines. And then this dashed line is the access easement that accesses lot 12. And it actually goes all the way back to lot 13. So if the owners so choose, they could create a shared driveway, which would include basically lot 12, lot 16, lot 15, and lot 13, even lot 14. Or they could just do any combination thereof, which the owners agree to. And the same is over here on the east side. Lot 14 has an access, or I'm sorry, lot 13 has an access easement that's shared with lot 14. So there could be a shared driveway down the middle of those, or right down the lot line between those two lots. Or there could just be lot 13 could have its own access, and lot 14 would not have to share necessarily. But it could be a more economical way for people to create access to those flag lots. Does that help?
Okay, but, so the developer sells the lots to the new buyer, and then he's got no further responsibility.
Correct.
So if lot 13 then wants some way to get back there, he either has to build his own road. Does that have to then be built according to any sort of specifications for public safety?
Nope, it would just be considered a driveway. And it could be as narrow as the driveway is required to be, so probably 10 feet wide.
And that a driveway of that length is legal? So
Yes.
that meets all the...
Yep.
Then the outlot for the drainage, if the developer sells the 6 lots, who has responsibility to maintain that outlot so it's not overgrown weeds and the
Excellent question.
detention?
Yes, I glossed over that. They will be, with the plat, they will be recording an owner certificate that requires, or establishes not a special service area, but what is it, Brad?
Homeowners Association?
Yeah, the homeowners association would take ownership and take responsibility. They would be responsible for the outlot.
So-
So you wanted it platted as an outlot because,
Can you
that
come
has
to,
a tendency to deter,
like,
yeah, come off top.
yeah.
I'm Brad Bennett. I'm an assistant city engineer, and I do the development reviews for Public Works. As I was saying, we wanted it as a separate outlot because we think that does, prevent one of, the adjacent property owner from kind of taking ownership of it and utilizing it for their own purposes. We've had some issues in the past where the detention area ended up getting filled in because the, adjacent property owner actually thought, it was part of his lot. So we think by it being a separate sublot, that should help with that. But the homeowners association, they'll have to mow it and take care of it.
So the proposed drainage swale looks like it's running on top of the easement for the driveway access?
Let's see.
Looks like it's adjacent to me.
Well, that's what, I guess that was phrased as a question, not a comment.
Okay, that's maybe a good question for the developer's engineer, who's also here.
I see.
Okay. So in general, my question has to do with some concern that the drainage resolution that's being proposed, actually, there's some mechanism that it actually will be there.
Mm-hmm. Yes, yeah, the owner certificate will establish the homeowners association and obligate them to maintain the drainage.
In addition to that, we make them sign a detention basin maintenance agreement, which, sets forth what they have to do and, sets a procedure where the city can come in and take action if they aren't keeping it up.
And are those things listed in the conditions of the plat, or is that covered by law so that between approval of this and the execution of deeds, da-da-da-da-da-da, that doesn't get lost someplace and then,
Yep, nope, that's in the ordinance, so.
okay.
You good? Follow-up question, so on those access drives, there's no particular material, they could use gravel or
Yeah, anything that the county,
asphalt, concrete?
the county allows. Yeah, it's the county's zoning jurisdiction, so it would be up to the county.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Any other questions for Mr. Engstrom or Mr. Bennett? Don't leave yet, Mr. Bennett. Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Are there any questions for Mr. Harris? I think you had one that kind of touched over.
Yeah, I mean, could you explain, I mean, I'm slow on reading topo maps,
No, that's okay.
and
Yeah.
so I was, the label was in that right-of-way.
The easement
but then
looked
I
like it was in the
understand that
right-of-way,
the
and that
label
was-
doesn't correspond, the dots, so I
Right.
don't understand anything at
The
all.
easiest one probably is if you look at lot 16 there and you go up to the top of the map, you'll see the first blue line, then there's 20 feet of that proposed, the drain, well, that's actually the right of way for the flag, and then it goes to the outlot for the, so there's still a space there for a driveway to go through for lot number 12 actually, so. And our expectation is that, I don't know if I can scroll this back down, can I make this smaller? I don't know how to make that smaller.
I mean,
The-
is it allowed
the
for your
minus
engineer to
at the
come up
top?
here and do a pointer?
Yeah, if you
I-
wanna- do you wanna
I-
point
I'm
and
not
show?
following this at all. I
That's
don't-
fine.
Where's the water coming from? I know it'll end up in the outlot, but I don't know where it's coming from,
Oh,
where the swales
okay.
are, and how that corresponds to the.
I wonder if I can.
There will be a swell along this lot
Yeah, I'm
line
not-
to pick
oh,
up
the mouse, I
this
didn't see
water
the mouse.
and direct it
That I
over
could
to
have
this
done.
swell. Again, a
Roller
swell
roll, right?
here, and a
Roller
swell
roll? No, roller
here
roll.
to try to bring about 2/3 of the property into the detention basin. We need to get at least 2/3 of the property into the detention basin for the detention basin to work in accordance with our calculations. We made this a ingress, egress, drainage utility easement so that it could fulfill all purposes. If we have multiple people, a 10-foot driveway isn't going to be enough. So, yeah, the SWIP is in this easement, but we've still got 25, 30 feet that they can build a road in, which is a common driveway. If there's no agreement between the homeowners, then he'll have a 10-foot driveway to serve this lot, and it doesn't need to be any wider because it's only the one lot using it. It may or may not be advantageous to this lot owner to enter into an agreement. He may decide that this is the only entrance he needs because he decides to face his house to Anthony. He may decide he wants to put the house up here facing Cottonwood, in which case it may be advantageous for him to enter into an agreement as to how that road's going to be built and maintained.
So, yeah, let me clarify that point. So the lots 12 and 13 are really the ones that are going to be serviced by these driveways, or they could be other ones too, if they so choose to have a shared driveway.
Yes.
But the ones that front, or that abut one of the roads can have a driveway.
They can have a driveway right to
onto
the road. And probably, chances are, as an owner, if I was to buy one of these lots, I would look and go, okay, well, cost-wise, why do I want
Sure.
a longer drive when I can have a shorter drive that exits right onto? So,
Right, I just wanted to clarify
Yeah.
that.
yeah.
So the grade that's established by the swale, they can't alter that when they're putting in their lane. So you establish a grade so that the water flows they come and put gravel for their lane, but they can't alter that.
They can't fill in the swale, the ditch.
Correct.
They can move it over if they decide that where we build it doesn't suit them. They can certainly move it over within this drainage easement. I anticipate that if they do have a shared drive, it will be a fairly short shared drive.
Mhm.
So that there's a single entrance, and then it'll be a private drive on all the way back to lot 12. That's what I would anticipate. But, I mean, lot 16 doesn't want to buy 220 feet of road when he only needs 50 feet.
Is that good for you, Mr. Otto? Do you understand what's going on there?
I think I understand it.
Sure.
You know, I guess it's the county or somebody's job to make sure that no one comes and calls the gravel trucks in, I need to get back here. And then we find out that this well-designed
Right.
topographical map doesn't resemble what's there, and
Right.
there's no culverts and.
Yeah. I mean, there's a pretty good drop from the wooded side to Cottonwood. There's about a 7-foot I mean, there's a pretty good grade difference, hence the hill that we were trying to avoid. So there's a pretty natural movement of water, and that's why there's actually a tile running along Cottonwood all the way to the saline. But again, we're talking about the 50-year flood, so we had to put a detention that will hold it until it releases it into, so we think we've come up with a good solution. And I don't think, you know, an owner coming in and building a driveway, I mean, I believe they'll be mindful, and it should natural contours of the land. They're not going to change that because of, I don't believe. So, and the county is the one that would be in charge of that.
So, this is a kind of a crazy scenario question. So what happens if you sell lot 13 first?
If I sell lot 13
Or
first,
that's the back one, right?
that's the very back one, the
Yeah.
wooded one.
Uh-huh.
Well, I would assume that they first have the right for the flag. Otherwise, they're going to have to wait to get the approval of Lot 12 to join into their, they have to sign an agreement.
Right.
So they naturally have their flag coming out onto 1650.
Right.
And that's the only access they can create. Unless, once someone buys the other lot, they can have.
They decide they
enter into
want
agreement.
both ways in or
Right,
something, yeah.
right.
Okay.
So, and we again tried to lay it out in such a way that I would believe that the way we've laid it out, most of the lots will pick their own driveways, and that's part of living in the country, is having that long driveway that leads up to your house, and you have that, you know, that. So I believe probably if we sold lot 13, although I have a feeling lot 13 will probably be the last lot to sell, or one of the last lots, because it's one of the more expensive lots, because it actually has the most woods, it has the most.
I would
you
think
know.
that would be a
Yeah,
coveted
that's the
lot.
one that I
Exactly.
think most people are going to want on this map. But
Right.
again, the demand has been good because, again, an acre and a half is a good sized lot,
Mhm.
and it provides people with a lot of space, and so.
Anything further, Mr. Otto?
Just an observation, as long as you're the owner of Lot 12, you sell Lot 13, you could enter into an agreement with Lot 13.
could.
And then it would just pass on to.
Right, pass on to the, and I could. So, I mean, I guess if someone did come in and say, well, I don't want to go this way, I want to go that way. But that being said, if I have to create a driveway from lot 13 out to Cottonwood, I actually have to go farther to get there than if I go the other direction, so.
Well, what happens if lot 14 comes in and wants to orient their house away from the road? And they want a shared driveway then?
They'd have to talk to lot 13
I was
again,
going to say,
and-
they'd have to get lot 13's agreement.
Right, and again, I could do the same thing as the developer and the owner. I could enter into the agreement, and then hopefully I wouldn't. I mean, it's a little bit of a. There's a few things that will have to be worked out amongst the owners and the people who want the lots, but I think it's a reasonable. It just basically came down to we had to come up with a new solution because the road and all the other
Right.
things just really didn't make the project work anymore. There was no upside to it, and although I like the project, I'm not in business to lose money.
No, no.
So.
Well, I greatly appreciate the effort that you've gone to. And I'm sorry that we had to
It's okay.
continue this thing
I
again.
understand.
So, are there any further questions, Ms. Upabant?
I don't even know who to ask, but is it unusual to have a homeowners association in the country like this? I mean, I always think of it as being kind of an urban thing.
It's more of, I mean, if it's shared, if there are shared properties, then there are homeowners association. I mean, for example, well, I think Mr. Fell can speak to this. Does Raintree has a homeowners association, don't you?
Do they? Okay.
No, you don't. Really?
Oh, I didn't think.
Okay, they don't. I was wrong.
No.
I can't think of one.
And some of them, and again, it's more of a newer thing. So it is kind of an odd thing,
Okay.
but
We-
hopefully it won't be a stopping point. Again, having myself shop for lots in the country with something as of this, that wouldn't have been a standing point where I would said, okay, I'm not doing it because there's a homeowners association. I mean, you work within, and it's a fairly small homeowners association. It's 6 people that you have to come to some agreement with, and they have to come up with a solution and a plan, and hopefully they can do that.
And you can control how much say they have over. You can limit it.
Correct. That would be set up in the covenants and the other, which is in the subdivision. And there are certain covenants to the subdivision as far as size, shape,
Okay.
house, so on and so forth.
I just couldn't think of one that I don't think I've ever heard.
I don't know if there is one. I guess Brick House might be the other one that I would say.
Yes, we
probably has
required
a-
one there too.
Yeah, Brick House subdivision there on Airport
Oh,
Road
the
would be
new
the
one,
other one
yeah.
probably.
Okay.
Is the existing house on lot 15?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Any further questions? Zuma Van. Thank you, Mr. Harris.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, well, I don't know if we want to do a little bit of discussion. Any thoughts you'd like to share at this time, or?
I think I was one of them who raised a lot of questions about the drainage the last time this was around, and I think that they've addressed my questions.
I agree, and I think the access issues will be worked out. I mean, having grown up in a rural subdivision, I know it's a great place to live, and, so. All right, with that, we'll close the public hearing and continue it until
June 5th.
June 5th. All right, thank you. Okay, moving on with audience participation. Mr. Fell, you may rejoin the tribe. Oh, Ms. McCusick, if you could.
Like the 5 minutes, if possible, to start after I write my name down.
Sure.
I just asked if I could write my name down before the 5 minutes started, and my name is Carol McCusick. Oh, wait a minute.
Oh, that's okay. I'm patient man.
So, usually the chair reads this, something about the procedures for the hearings, and it includes opportunities for proponents and opponents, and before you go to the questions of the, I thought before you talked yourselves.
Yeah, I usually do that. That's my fault, Ms. McCusick. I neglected to do that because I knew we weren't going to vote. I'll make sure and not make that mistake again.
Well, yeah, the people.
And we'll have another hearing on this, so.
It would help me to be prepared to start something now, though. You know what I mean?
Sure, I'm sorry.
Can I like have 2 different things here while I'm up at the desk, like my thing for the public hearing? It wouldn't be right, I guess, once they're gone, right?
Yeah, I'm sorry about that.
I'm going to talk about a general thing, though. It just happens to be illustrated by this. there's in the letter about the hearing on the plan case, there was a paragraph that talks about the applicant's engineer has submitted a storm water management report, which must be approved by the city engineer prior to the recording of the final plat. And I think I understood in Jeff's presentation that, so this is just an illustration of a kind of a thing, that the plan had been approved. But so after this meeting is over, there isn't going to be like, it would be something that you would be relying on the minutes to convey that as of this, that approval has taken place. Or what kind of records would exist, I wonder, in the files, you know?
Oh, what approval are you talking about? We haven't approved anything, so we will reopen this public hearing and if necessary, reconsider it again with the members that or didn't have a chance to talk about it. And you can be invited to weigh in at that time if you so choose. And provided we have a quorum at the June 5th meeting, at that time, we would either approve it or deny it.
I guess.
Mr. Otto?
Perhaps I can answer that. If you look on page 3 of the plan case, which is part of the official record, it says applicant's engineer has submitted a stormwater management report which must be approved, and they reported here as a matter of public information that had been approved. So it's a part of the official record that the engineer has reviewed the plans and approved them.
So the city engineer has approved it. We have not approved it.
Right.
And how is that a matter of the record, by the video recording?
By being entered into the plan case. And Jeff's presentation, I believe he mentioned it, so that would again put it in the public record. And sure, the recorded session would be another source of public record.
Because the letter, the memo doesn't indicate it's happened yet. Well, what would indicate it would be like the minutes of this meeting that would say that was reported to this meeting, right? That would be how that was a record?
That would be another source of record. You're absolutely right. But the memo does say that the
last
preliminary
sentence-
approval.
The
Yeah.
last,
Right. But it's not finally approved until
until we act.
Exactly, yeah.
I don't think I made my, I don't think my question was right, or else I didn't understand the answer right, but I'm going to go on to another thing. So it looked like to me that, okay, I was trying to go to the Planning Commission bylaws because they start in, they are from 2005 adoption, so the rule on public comment in them would be what we were under.
Yes, that's correct.
And I wonder if it's, I can really go by that because of, because the state made their law about it at the beginning of January. I think I do have, that, you know, you have to have a written and recorded right for the public to speak. And so I guess it's perfectly fine that you already, to use the rule, you already did have it around before.
Right.
Okay.
That's right.
So this rule, just to go to it so I make sure I ask for the right things. Is any? Oh,
Yep, you got it right there. No? What page are you on? It's on page 4 at the bottom.
Thank you. Okay. Any person addressing the Plan Commission during audience participation shall be allowed 5 minutes to speak. It shall be the prerogative of the chairperson to extend the 5-minute time limit, or if the chairperson does not enforce or extend the time limit, the extension shall be decided without debate by a motion approved by the majority vote of the members of the commission present. I would like to get the 5 minutes uninterrupted, and if I have a couple topics, like look at it ahead, so I kind of make a small note about each question, because I think that would afford me the best shot at more time, you know. May I ask for that, please, to use 5 minutes uninterrupted?
No. But I've already, at my discretion, extended your time a little bit, so. And I believe what the motion means is if a member can make a motion to have a longer period of time if they so choose, and then it would be voted on.
Okay, well, that's not so okay for me, but let's see, with the, like a decision, let's say, the decision you have here for, you can have a vote of the members of the commission present, of a majority vote of the members of the commission present. It's not the majority of the votes cast in this commission. Everything's a majority of the members present. And I think that it might be that you're being an advisory, that you don't make binding recommendations. You make recommendations to city council, but they're not binding. So it might be that, like decisions like changing the agenda, approving the minutes, decision to adjourn and reconvene, or take a recess, adjourn, all those kind of decisions, change the order of business, or would be perfectly okay with less than a quorum because of being an advisory board. And if you had a Board of Government information, we could, like, commissions could go to that. People could go to that about that kind of a question. The city could send the question up to the state as a community, you know. That's okay. The place that talks about this advise where.
All right, I'm going to give you 2 more minutes.
And one reason, okay, another thing I wanted to bring up was starting on time was, okay, Section 2.01, all meetings required by this act, that's the Illinois Open Meetings Act, to be public shall be held at specified times and places which are convenient and open to the public. I think that if you don't start sharp at the time of it's scheduled for, regardless of who's here, people won't still come along because they think they're late. And then the other thing is, another reason they wouldn't come along is really if you don't have to have, or if you're able to make a decision as a body to, people aren't here, well, we can still make the decision to, like, go to another meeting room across town. The openness of the meeting was established by the time and the place. The people had to get there. You know, at 7:30, at 7:32, you could already be getting in your cars and going to your reconvene site. And the public isn't given the slip, really, because they had to get there at 7:30. I'm just wondering that. So therefore, people would stop. Oh, no point in trying to go. I won't catch them if I go to the meeting. So I think if those taken together, that might mean that you needed to start on time. All
right, well, I'm going to ask you to wrap up now.
Okay, I was thinking that, okay, Another thing for a Board of Government Information, it's really, I'm just feeling as though maybe it means that there's another, there's like brackets, like two kinds of boundaries. One boundary is if you were a board that makes binding recommendations, you'd have to have the number for the quorum. That's one boundary. But maybe you have to have, if even like 3 of you in contemporaneous interactive communications are in the same space at the time and place, at that specified time and place, you have to have them meet the meeting to take the public comment, which this is essentially what you've done here tonight. So that, but like, let's say you were trying to evade the public comment. I was thinking the people who are actually members, membership could be very meeting related, and so that, and the purpose of that would be, well, obviously, if you're not a member, you're not supposed to speak and make a motion or speak in debate or vote, right? So
That's correct. I'm going to have to ask you to stop now, but I do want to make one point that the reason I waited was to be fair to the petitioner. I'm sorry that was inconvenient for you. And the reason I went ahead and opened the meeting was because I wanted to be fair not only to the petitioner, but also to you. And thank you for coming down here and sharing your opinions with us.
thank you.
Okay, do we have a staff report?
Yes, the Campus Circle special use permit was approved by City Council, and they are working on their permits for that, and they should be building pretty soon. And in terms of staff, as Terry had mentioned, we have made some offers to some new planners, and they will be starting on June 2nd and June 9th.
That's great. I'm glad you're getting some help.
Thanks.
Anything further?
Nope.
We do not have a study session, so with that, we are adjourned. Thank you.